China finally joins the AI arms race. Are we ready for this?
Everyone, welcome to the All Future Podcast. Talk about a lot of cool things here. And today, for the first time ever, just me and Andrew here talking about stuff. We got Ron out of here. We don't need his Tesla opinions anymore. What does he know? And I'm excited because we've got a good one. We got a hot one. We're coming in hot already.
Oh, yes.
The Matt and Andrew show here. And we're going to talk about China and their their first kind of big public push, I guess, as it were, into large language models, generative AI, generative video. A lot of good stuff going on here. Well, maybe a lot of bad stuff going on here. A lot of good stuff for podcast topics, maybe bad for the universe.
Yeah, so China's Sense Nova 5.0 has beat Chat GPT 4 Turbo on some benchmarks. It's basically neck and neck with a lot of stuff. So Medium reports that Sense Nova 5.0 has outperformed Chat GPT 4. They've beat them on things like logical reasoning and creative writing. So if you don't know, AI benchmarks have a bunch of different things that they can be tested on. So imagine it's like an SAT or something like that, where you might have a section of math, you also have a section of reading comprehension, creative writing, things like that. And all these AI models, all these LLMs are better at different sorts of things. So in this instance, we have it beat it in a couple measures, which is really tough to even get to that point with some of these things. Google Gemini has beat Chat GPT 4 on different things. So all of these are neck and neck. To China even have a competitor in this space is a brand new thing for them. Their stock just blew up over this news as well. So we saw a 36% change in their stock with this announcement of it beating Chat GPT 4. It's the first time we've actually seen China open up about what it's doing in AI and have a competition that is comparable to something like a ChatGPT.
So there we go. That's the lay of the land for you guys, where we're at with this thing. In my mind, a couple notes, right? I guess there are a couple things that immediately hit me off the top of it. One, I think you cannot talk about China and consumer tech right now without talking about the TikTok situation and essentially the regulation and the political will in the United States right now not to have Chinese technologies deeply integrated into our lives. And of course, I guess on the other side of it, China also has the same thing where they don't allow American technology to deeply integrate into Chinese people's lives. So it doesn't surprise me at all that China is developing models that are comparative or can compare to GPT, Gemini, Llama, whatever you want to talk about. I think where we're seeing kind of some interesting developments here, some interesting things to talk about is where does this go next? Does this integrate into a consumer level product, be it a smartphone or whatever? Does this thing become available and widely used in America, for example, or anywhere in the West, in Europe, or anything like that? And are we going to start to see more AI regulation in terms of international regulation of the AI? There's, with this article, there's a talk about how the Secretary of State for the United States is having conference with his Chinese counterparts with this idea of opening this dialogue of how we're going to make international laws and regulations for AI. And the thing is, though, right, is that in the end, if there's one thing China's going to do, they're going to do the thing that makes China the richest, which is what they've done for the last 30 years or so. And if they can either out-engineer these current models or steal the models that other people are making and market them and sell them or monetize them in any way, they are 100% going to do that. And that is, I think, bad news for the world.
We've seen this happen over and over and over again with the technologies, right? It's the reason Chinese cell phones are banned. Mm-hmm. It's the reason we are having this TikTok ban conversation at all. It's not that we want to ban TikTok. Americans love TikTok. There's a bunch of things about TikTok that are good. A bunch of people's livelihoods are on TikTok these days. But the conversation is about data and American privacy of data. And exactly like you're saying, they're having summits right now talking about how are they going to do this. Because you more than anyone know how, technology can be weaponized against each other in the country. Oh, yeah. And as much as on the face of things, we seem to be having a good relationship with China, having a good relationship with nations across the world, we're dealing with cyber attacks on all fronts every single day from every single country. Yep. Correct?
Yes. So what Andrew's obliquely alluding to there is that I worked at the NSA for a while, and before that did intelligence in the Air Force. And there is, every single day, there are massive cyber intrusions from foreign countries into America. This is not classified to say. This is not a crazy thing to say. And now a large scale social engineering, all this kind of stuff is happening out there. And if you talk about the reason for the ban on TikTok, right, like is really because of its ability to influence. And if you can control that algorithm, you can start influencing vast swaths of the population. And imagine what you could do if you had the most popular AI. And let's say a world 10 years from now where there is no Google search. We don't use Google search anymore. We have AIs that do all this stuff, right? Like our window to the universe is filtered through an AI system. And if that AI system or model can in any way be used to influence, I'm not even going to say in negative ways, but maybe a positive way for someone else, but a negative way for you, that's a dangerous thing to have. So I think there's that part of it, which is alarming. I would say alarming, right? Like it's alarming. And AI systems in general, even the ones made here in the United States, there's going to need to be a level of transparency. What we can do here in the United States, EU, is that we're going to heavily regulate this stuff. There's going to be transparency laws. There's all this that's already happening. That is not going to happen in China. Like they have no interest in doing that. So I think that's where the I think not an unfounded fear lies, is that China obviously is not subject to EU regulation or American laws, and that can lead to negative things.
Yeah, definitely. So we've already seen lawsuits here between, say, Google and OpenAI that aren't going anywhere. And the reasons, people speculate a lot of things. Will this actually lead to a result or not? But I think one of the main reasons could be like, if they don't train on something like a YouTube, if they don't train on all this American data that we have, if they don't come to some sort of, head with these things, then we're going to be left in the dust by a country like China.
Well, and people talk about this all the time with intellectual property rights in China is crazy, right? If you invent you make the best toaster in the universe and you're like, this is the best toaster. It's going to toast your bread. It's got an AI in it. I don't know. Maybe it tells you the temperature. It's super cool. You put that on Amazon. Within a couple weeks, there will be an exact clone made in China that is undercutting you and being sold. And good luck going through the intellectual property, gauntlet to try to get that taken down from Amazon or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy, right? So now imagine that with something like AI. Like we can make all the laws we want to in America that say, oh, an AI can't be trained on copyrighted material. Oh, an AI has to be this transparent, blah, blah, blah. China doesn't follow that at all. And they have no incentive to follow that. And we talk a lot on here about what is AI going to do to the economy? And we talk a lot about the elimination of what we currently think of as the white collar workforce, right? If you work in front of a computer, can your job be done better by an AI? And the answer is yes. Maybe not yet, but 100% it will be. So, how do you, as a society, address that? We talk about things like maybe universal basic income, it's kind of crazy, somewhat fringe, theoretical kind of political ideas. But the problem is you can make all those rules you want in America, right? It's like, oh, you can't, 50% of your workforce has to be human instead of AI, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. China's not going to be subject to any of that. So what's going to stop you, instead of manning your accounting service here with an AI where you're required to have 50% be human, you're just going to send that offshore.
You can do whatever you want.
You're going to say, I'm going to pay for someone in China to do it. It's going to be super cheap because they're not following any of these AI rules in America.
Yeah, and they haven't followed any AI rules in terms of things like facial recognition or how they govern their society either. So we talk about this in Tesla. To be the voice of Tesla when Ryan's not here.
Okay, let's hear it.
One of Tesla's main things that they have over every other company is all their camera data from all their cars. It's why they're one of the front runners to be solving something like full self-driving is because they have more camera data than any other company, right? So what China has and what the United States might have and we don't know, it just has to be like classified or it can't be.
No comment.
We, assign numbers to people instead of names, but they have more facial recognition data in China and have been using this machine learning in these ways already. So they're going to have more data in that sort of camera feed, how to run a city. Take out the dystopian aspects of like trying to silence people or censor people, and just think about it in terms of optimization, right? Like if I have a bunch of traffic data and I want to solve traffic and I put that into an AGI and I have all this camera data of how traffic operates, then I might be able to solve that problem a lot better than someone who doesn't have all that data. I might be able to solve pedestrian traffic, or if there's crime, like if you think of the opposite version, okay, there's a lot of censorship, but we want to solve crimes. Now, the AGI tries to solve crimes of all this facial recognition data that we don't have in the United States. Will that turn into some sort of better society that we can, I don't want to say model. I don't want that for the United States, but, will we see these things being a better solution? Will we see more censorship or more crazy sorts of things because of this in China?
Yeah. I'm sure when they were, two cavemen in the cave over invented the wheel, people were like, oh my God, like we're totally screwed, right? We got to steal that immediately. So, I mean, this is throughout history, this has been the question of the, like, as technology grows, how our society is going to interact with this. What are they going to share? What are they going to not share? But it's an interesting idea of, are American and Western AI researchers going to be hamstrung by regulations? And does that mean that China is going to make a true AGI first, a true artificial general intelligence, which is the kind of holy grail of the whole thing, like an actual thinking machine? Because one, like you said, they have tons of data already. They're not going to have to deal with all these regulations and laws. And if that happens, is the West going to be super left behind, right? Like, because you're talking, like, what is AGI going to be capable of that humans are not? And the answer is it's going to be able to do almost every single thing a human does, but way better, right? Like significantly better, light years better, right?
And so we could think of that here in the United States as maybe not having some of these lawsuits and not having some of this regulation right away is a good thing. Yeah. You sort of want it to be the Wild West at first so we don't get left behind in new technology. There's all the other arguments on the opposite side, obviously. But they also came out with another new technology, right? One we've been talking about a lot. So OpenAI came out with their Sora model. Great video generation tool, already being talked about by Hollywood. We haven't really seen a profitability model with something like OpenAI in general yet, but Sora does look like something that Hollywood would be able to easily pay millions of dollars for, every single year. So it's
going to get integrated into Premiere. They're already going to loading it up, right? So I'm sure Adobe is paying some licensing fees and stuff for that, right? So Sora is a sellable thing that OpenAI is making, yeah.
So China has also come out with their competitor to that, and it's called Vidu, V-I-D-U.
I was waiting for you to say it first.
Okay.
I was like, Vidu? Video? Voodoo?
I'm calling it here. It's Vidu, and everyone argue with me in the comments about it. Make sure to spell it phonetically. Yeah. So Vidu is a competitor to Sora. It makes, I believe, 17-second videos right now. Another thing that someone will correct me in the comments about if I'm wrong, but bigger than something like Runway, which right now only makes 3-second videos. Sora, not available to the public because it's too dangerous. It's too accurate. Vidu, you watched the videos. What did you think of them?
Pretty solid. It's probably a good comparison to say it's landing somewhere between maybe Runway and Sora, in terms of the quality of it. And the thing is, we're seeing their demo. So, so it's their best version of what this thing can do. It looked like AI video. You could tell it was AI if you were looking for AI. But again, same with Sora when we talk about that, this is version 0.1 of this stuff, like in another year, this thing is probably going to be remarkable. So yeah, it's absolutely going to be, I think, direct level competition to things like Sora. And again, it's like, what's China's plan for getting the return on their investment on this stuff,
Yeah, exactly. So are they going to sell their technology to Hollywood? I think in general, we have a huge advantage in America because we have something like a Hollywood. We get to, export things like movies to China. If you've ever heard them, John Cena learning how to speak Chinese to make sure his movie does well in China, those sorts of things, right? We really value the Chinese market in terms of being people who watch movies out there, but we don't do the same thing in return. They don't have a Hollywood in China that exports movies to the rest of the world. So will they have as much of a use for something like this? Will it be used for, I don't know, political things or other things,
Yeah. And then there's the thing, like building a video generative system can actually help you build other interesting stuff. You know, I think we always use the use case of, oh, people can make a movie from this or whatever. But I mean, you can also make, you know, hyper realistic versions of a heart or something for a surgeon. You know, like there's lots of like direct impact stuff you can do with these generative video. There's not beyond the entertainment thing. And whoever we're talking about, I mean, we're talking about China in this video, but if we talk about China, EU, Japan, India, America, everyone should be developing this stuff.
Yeah,
you know, like if you're not developing this stuff, you're getting left behind right now. And the problem is our society is going to start to be built more and more around this. And if you're not making your own, you're going to have to use someone else's, which is something you never want to do, right?
I think a basic premise here is that what Americans buy Chinese goods for and what you need an American for in between that is Chinese do not know how to sell to an American, right? So if you have your toaster, that's the best toaster in the world, you still have to sell it to an American. And if you see any sort of videos right now that are Chinese made videos trying to sell an American, they're not very good. They might be like very low quality or things like that. I think AI in general and this generative AI and then all the translation stuff in between is really going to level a playing field where you're not going to need that like American running their Shopify store in between just some manufacturer and trying to directly selling an American product.
That's exactly, they're going to train the AI on funny American ads, and then it's going to make that
yeah, exactly.
for their product. Yeah,
and that's really important.
Well, and I mean, that's already, maybe not this direct example, but a ton of the ads you see right now, the copy of them has been AI written in some way, whether it's the initial idea generation or they're making the tags. I know the kind of professional creative world are the first people that have really been economically kind of hit hard by AI, because where you used to have things like entry-level copywriters, entry-level people coming up with ads, the AIs are doing all that now. And people who used to maybe need marketing services and stuff like that are just having an AI do it instead, right? So it's and it's effective. Like that's the thing, is that like people are like, and the thing is like people will show you can, when you talk to kind of civilians, I guess, for lack of a better, people that maybe don't know a lot about AI
normies,
whatever you know. Right, a lot of people are like, and even people who have like just a little bit of knowledge about it, like whatever that knowledge bell curve, like the Diane-Kruger effect or whatever, right? Like so it's like, oh, like they're like, oh, I can tell when something's AI. I got bad news for you. No, you cannot. There is a ton of great AI ads happening right now. There's a ton of great AI work, visual stuff that you are seeing right now, and you do not know that is AI. And so that's just, like China's going to take this and run with it.
So before that, it was just stock videos and copy and paste. It was still pretty rare for someone to really come up with like a new design or a new piece of copywriting. There were just all these services where you can go like, buy the 1,500 like copywriting intros and make them your own. So a lot of this stuff is just copy and paste. We like to think we're sophisticated humans, but the same dumb tactics work on us over and over and over again.
The only reason AI can be created is because humans are so predictable.
And so in the middle of that is just really giving China a direct line to American citizens and American money for their goods. And I think our government really wants to put a wedge like directly in between those things. I hope to see improvements in this. I think anything in an AI arms race is good for everyone, because hopefully these AI will lead to better things for us. Maybe I'm too optimistic in our dystopian podcast. But, I want to see these things improve. I like to see that OpenAI is still doing better in a lot of things. And, Sam Altman keeps teasing GPT-5 as, going to change the world or something. So waiting for Blue Steel over here to, or it's Magnum, sorry. But I want to see, these things get better in a way that really affects our lives. Because as of right now, these things are out. They're being used, but it's not like, we really don't have them on device. We're starting to get them in these, like Instagram rollout for Llama or things like that, but people don't know how to use them yet. Terrible. So it's really not helping us yet. As much as it might make us more productive, I don't feel in my daily life yet.
Agreed. Good luck, China.